What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me again for another review. Today I want to talk about a device that you just saw in the introduction there, the Geekvape Aegis Squonk. I got to give some huge shout outs to my people over at Geekvape, the Geekvape Facebook official page. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for sending this out to me and giving me a chance to bring my thoughts to you guys on the Geekvape Aegis Squonk kit. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, get straight down into it, no BS. Let's talk about it. And here we are with the Geekvape Aegis Squonk kit. I'm going to go ahead and show you the packaging and everything that comes inside. Here is the front of the box. Of course, as you can see, the front of the box, the picture will show you the color configuration that you'll be getting, powered by the AS chip. This is labeled as a 2-in-1 bottom feeder kit with a 10 milliliter capacity. On the sides, of course, you've got stuff like your social media, your branding. On the back, of course, you've got all the contents that are included. Let's go ahead and get a little close-up freeze on that. You'll see that it is labeled as IP67 water and dust resistance, as with any Aegis device. Very awesome inclusion there. High shock resistance, and as I mentioned, that AS100 chip. All the things that are included here. We'll go ahead and break it open and show you everything that's inside. This has been opened because I've been testing it for, I believe, a little over a week now. So, we've got the Tengu RDA included in this kit. Awesome. Let's go ahead and set this off to the side here. See what else is underneath. So we've got your warranty information here in this black envelope. Got your user manual in a plethora of languages. It's like a dang Bible. Alright, so you got some tools, you got a coiling rod. Got some cotton and coils that come with this. I've already used the coils. They were triple core fused Claptons, 28 gauge nichrome wrapped in 40. Then you've got your tools and spares here. You've got your screwdriver, studded 510 because the Squonk pin does come included. Some extra grub screws, O-rings, 510 drip tip adapter. Good stuff. You've got one of these hefty Squonk bottles here, super thick. Very durable, feels very high quality. I like that quite a bit. And then, of course, your micro USB firmware upgrade cable is included. Then, of course, the Aegis Squonk mod right here. That blue is freaking beautiful on that frame there. I do really like that quite a bit. There's your Squonk bottle right here. You've got your 510 up top with that silicone O-ring on there to keep things from leaking out. Single battery compartment down here on the bottom. You just flip this little baby up here, unscrew, stick your battery in. Positive side goes towards the top. And this is where you fill things. Just go ahead and slide that open. Got this little membrane here that you stick your bottle nose into. Fills up straight on the top. Pretty sweet. Now this chip probably really won't need much talking about or much introduction. Most people are going to be familiar with this chip. But let's go ahead and power this on. 5 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This thing comes on super quick. And of course, you'll see all your basic information. We're in power mode. Here's your wattage. Got your battery power right there. Then, of course, you've got the resistance, your amperage, your volts, and of course, your puff counter. If you click these little buttons just one time, it goes up in 0.1 increments, or you can hold it down and go up in single watt increments all the way up to 100. Goes super fast, and it does round robin back down to 5. Once again, you'll see 0.1 increments or in increments of 1. I do like that quite a bit. These buttons kind of remind me of, I believe it was the Aegis Mini or the Aegis Solo. A little bit different than things like the Legend. They're very clicky, feels very sturdy and solid. I do like how that feels. And sorry for the fingerprints and the scratches. Like I mentioned, I've been using this for about a week or so. So pardon any scratches or smudges that you see on here. That is pretty much it. This does have some liquid in it. And we're going to go ahead and fill that up here. Let's go ahead and focus on a build. Alright, so here is our Tengu RDA that is included in the kit with that Ultim style drip tip. Got honeycomb airflow on both sides. On the bottom, again, you've got the 510 is the Squonk pin already pre-installed. It says Tengu, designed by Geekvape. Let's go ahead and put this on the mod and get a build going on it. So we just go ahead and pull this straight off here and take a look at that build deck. Pretty unique. If there's anybody that hasn't seen that, this is a fairly unique design. What's kind of cool about it is it allows you to keep your legs kind of in the natural direction that they're wrapped in. But if you'll notice, these side ones are a little bit of a slant here. Let's go ahead and get a build going in that. I'm going to go ahead and use a couple of my own Kanthal fused Claptons here. We've got 2 cores of 26 gauge wrapped in 36. Again, all Kanthal, just some standard 7 wrap fused Claptons. real quickly, one thing I always remind you guys to do, I would recommend just making sure that after you've got your coils set up and lined up and everything, go ahead and put your top cap on and put it up to some light. Make sure that your coils are lined up nicely with your airflow. You don't have to do that, but I like to do it just to make sure, because I'm kind of a perfectionist sometimes, which is why that coil is driving me crazy. But we're going to go ahead and wick this baby up and test her out. So before we get this all put back together and start vaping on it, if you'll check on the inside of your Tengu RDA, you notice there's some little notches right there. That will kind of hang on to the RDA and lock in place right here so that you can adjust your airflow. So what I mean is, once you get this put on here and kind of twist it into place, you'll notice it clicks right there. So that's when it's locked in place, and you can then adjust your airflow by turning the body of the RDA. Anything you adjust on one side will occur on the other. But I want to go ahead and take this off and go ahead and put some juice in here really quickly. There we go, once again with the Geekvape Aegis Squonk kit. Tengu RDA sitting up on top. Let's go ahead and flip this around, have a vape, talk about it, pros and cons. We'll get this wrapped up, short and sweet. All right, guys, here we are back on top. The part you've all been waiting for. I've been getting so many questions from people on my social media accounts about my thoughts on this. Everybody knew I was going to test this because I put a couple of polls up asking for your input, whether I should go ahead and open it and test it out for a bit, or if I should wait for this video. I got an overwhelming response telling me that I needed to go ahead and test it out and bring my thoughts back to this video. So here we are with the Aegis Squonk kit. Tengu RDA sitting up on top with my fused Claptons inside. Came out to a 0.28. Going to start it out at 50 watts. I want to start out on the lower end just because this is a very mentholy juice, so I have a feeling it's going to be pretty strong. But let's go ahead and back up and give you some vapor production. All right, not bad. All right, so the first time that I built on this, I used the coils that came inside the package, those 3-core fused Claptons. And my thoughts on the coils that Geekvape includes with their boxes have never been all that great. They're not bad coils, but if you build your own coils and you're used to using those or using somebody else's handmade coils, go ahead and stick with that. They're going to give you a little bit better flavor. I wasn't a big fan of the ones that came in here, so I'm happy to have thrown some of my own Kanthal fused Claptons in here. I went with Kanthal on this mainly because of the fact it's a single battery box. It's a 20 amp battery, so I don't like to push it above the max recommended 60 watts for that single battery. So with the 0.28 on those Kanthal dual coils, of course, the build that I have in there is very fitting to this battery. So make sure you know your Ohm's law if you're building on that, especially when using a single battery, and build to that battery just to keep it within the safe range. But that's a whole nother story. So let's talk pros and cons overall. With the RDA, I would say visually, nothing super stunning. It's a pretty simple RDA, really good for beginners or people that just don't have a whole lot of experience with building. So if you're looking for something that fits those brackets, then go ahead and start with something like the Tengu RDA. It's very affordable, very reliable, super easy to build on. It squonks very well. Or of course, if you're not a squonker, it does have that studded 510 pin, so you're not left out if you don't like to squonk or if you don't have a squonker or aren't getting something like the Aegis Squonker. Overall, the build deck is unique. The only con that I really had with that, other than maybe not being one of the best on flavor, is those slanted posts on the side. It does kind of jack up your coil leads a little bit. Not that big of a deal, just a little bit of a nitpicky complaint there. But overall, the RDA, I would say, is decent. It's a good fit with this. Not my favorite. It's not the one that I use daily. I've been using something more like the Profile with this, just because most of the juices I use are fairly fruity, and I like the flavor that Mesh gives me, so I'll probably stick with something like that. Now, the box, however, let's go ahead and talk pros and cons on this one. Cons, let's see here. I would say the first thing that comes to mind is single battery. Again, using just a single battery, 20 amp battery. Max recommended wattage on that is going to be 60 watts. So that kind of eliminates a lot of the RDAs that I like to use. I do tend to stick around like a 0.2, maybe 0.18 on my dual coil RDAs. So I'm usually pushing those somewhere between, I'd say on the low end, 65 upwards of like 75 or 80, depending on what coils are in there, but only if I'm using a dual battery mod. So regarding the battery, that's probably the only complaint that I have on that. Other cons, I would say the squonk bottle. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain to change that out. All you have to do, though, is take these two hex screws out with the Allen wrench that's included, or your own, just these two on the side. Pull that right off, and you can get to the squonk bottle. Geekvape did a video on how to do that. Definitely recommend checking that out and learning how to change out your squonk bottle. The chipset on this, very easy to use, very simple. Most people are pretty familiar with the Aegis products or some of the other products that Geekvape has put out using the same or very similar chip. Not a whole lot of fancy stuff to it. Easy to switch your different modes, easy to change your wattage. I think the only things that I wish were there were maybe some different color options for the screen. You can change the brightness, but I do wish it went a little bit brighter for those bright sunny days here in Texas. Sometimes I can't really see the screen very well, so I wish it could go a little bit brighter. Squonk capabilities on this. I do love the squonk bottle. It feels very sturdy, very rigid, easy to get to that bottle with that huge opening, easy to push on that. It actually squonks quite well. I can hear it sucking back, so I can tell that everything's working the way that it should be or the way that I would expect it to. Filling the squonk bottle, just sliding that open, sticking your bottle down in there. Very easy to fill. The only thing I found kind of annoying with that is that I can't get my bottle in there without taking the RDA off. So I'd say that's probably the only con when it comes to filling up the squonk bottle. Visually, this thing looks absolutely stunning. If I haven't mentioned that already, as with all the Geekvape products, especially the Aegis series, everything looks really nice. For being something that's so rigid, so sturdy, so strong, water resistant, shock resistant, and I've put this thing to the test. I let it soak in water for a while. I've thrown it on the ground to kind of test it out a little bit, and this thing doesn't even have a scratch except for the screen. A couple little small superficial scratches there. You can't ask for much better when it comes to looks combined with durability and reliability on a mod. Overall, thoughts, pros and cons. I'd say for the most part, it's been an extremely positive experience for me using this thing over the last week or two. As I mentioned earlier, using something like a Profile RDA or maybe another single coil RDA would be my personal preference or recommendation as opposed to the Tengu RDA. Again, it's not a terrible RDA, but it just doesn't fit my personal liking. But to get straight to the point, would I recommend this to somebody? Do I really like it that much? I've had a lot of people ask me, do you think I should get this? I don't know if I want to spend the money on it because it's a single battery. If you like single coil builds or slightly higher resistance builds, you use Kanthal, or if you like lower wattage mesh, definitely get this. I think it's going to be worth the price for anyone that either doesn't have a squonker or does enjoy squonking and is looking to add something else. Any of the Geekvape Aegis fans, you want to add this to your collection? Absolutely. Everything is absolutely beautiful, well put together, very sturdy, very strong, durable, reliable product. So as with every other Geekvape product that I've personally used, I've been a huge fan of all the Geekvape products that I've ever used or had. So yes, absolutely. Anybody that wants a new mod, looking to squonk, again, to summarize, definitely should go ahead and check out the Geekvape Aegis kit. I've literally been using this thing all day, every day, ever since I got it over a week ago. So if that means anything to you, then great. That should say a lot to you. But overall, I'd say this is probably my current new favorite mod. I've been enjoying squonking on this, trying out different builds, different juices, different atomizers. So yeah, this is a really fun mod. I've enjoyed beating the crap out of it, dropping it in water, putting it to the test, and happy to share my thoughts with Geekvape. Thank you guys so much once again for sharing this with me. To all the guys in the Geekvape Facebook group, I appreciate you choosing me to share these thoughts with you. Really look forward to continuing doing this in the future. If you have any other questions, as always, feel free to hit me up on my social media at RiotVapesTX, and of course by email, RiotVapesTX@gmail. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and checking out the Geekvape Aegis Squonk. Much love to you guys, and we'll see you on the next review.